I'm Kate.
I'm Red Sonya.
I'm Beverly, and today we're dishing with you from Mary Vanna at 1141 Connecticut Avenue in DuPont.
This is a great Russian restaurant. We have some yummy things in front of us, including the Olivier salad, which is a melange of diced potatoes, carrots, bologna, and pickles. But we also have the herring under a fur coat, layers of herring, carrots, beets, and potatoes. And we also have the salo plate, traditional salt-cured pork fatback, and, of course, the vinaigrette, refreshing beets, and vegetable salad. It's traditional Russian food.
This place is supposed to be like the Russian fable of the grandmother who fed the weary traveler. You can come here to get great Russian food, and you can also get 70 different types of vodka, including vodka in that Antonovska you've got right there.
Yes. And our guest today is Stef Woods. She's an adjunct professor at American University, but you may have heard of her because she is teaching the famous 50 Shades of Grey class at AU. And I like your shades of gray that you're joining us in today.
Only 3.
Only 3, okay.
Well, I guess with the shoes, 4.
Not quite 50.
No.
But it looks fabulous.
So tell us about this crazy class. Am I going to start feeling all, you know,
I do love making you feel uncomfortable with a lot of sex talk, but unfortunately, despite what people would assume a class based on the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy would be about, it's not that scandalous.
No. But the class has started.
Correct.
And the children, I'd say children, the children, because hopefully they're younger than me. No, the students are already, they're already in the class and they've already started. So you have a really good idea of how this class is going to go.
Correct. So, and all of those who chose to enroll and stayed enrolled and once they saw the syllabus were on board. The trilogy is being used as a case study or a jumping off point to look at 60 academic sources.
Wow.
So yes, they need to read the books for background as we talk about these larger issues, but we're looking into sexuality, health, public relations, and marketing.
So this is more than literature, and this is not a sex class.
Correct.
This is something bigger than that.
Did using the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, was it really more to get people into the, like a kind of a hook to get them into the class? Or like, I think...
All of my classes have been thankfully full without a hook, so no. I think it's that to study the most successful book in the digital age, whether that would have been possible if it wasn't in the digital age, to talk about, for one demographic, the mommy market that this was targeted to, it's viewed as a wonderful fantasy and a representation of this ideal relationship. Whereas for my students, they view this as more of an abusive relationship between the two partners. And this isn't something that they find realistic or even a relationship to dream about. So I think it was a good jumping off point, and it's popular culture. This is an American studies class. It's liberal arts education. So we're used to using
liberal arts.
Popular culture, you know, for larger academic study.
Have you read the book?
I have not.
Have you read the book?
I did.
Okay.
I have not read it. I'm fascinated by it.
Did most of the students, had they already read it before you assigned it to them? Because this is required reading in this class.
Correct.
All 3 or?
Yes, all 3.
But that's not all they have to read.
The 60 other sources.
Right.
That's a lot of reading. But were there some students who signed up with the class thinking, oh, this is going to be a class just about sex and not about the other issues around sexuality that you're looking at?
There were 3 students who dropped out once they had access to the syllabus and the amount of written assignments that they would be required to do. So I think there's also the misperception that popular culture classes translate into easy A's, and that's not my school and that's not my class as.
What I found is that most of the news articles that I have looked at about this class don't really understand what you're teaching. So they all think that you're teaching how to do what they do in the book, which
I didn't get that.
Not at all. So but what is it, the one nugget you really want them to take away from this class? What is the most important thing they can learn?
Just one?
Okay, there's 50, but really what's the big one?
I think
or maybe a couple.
Up to this point, we looked at copyright violations within internet fan fiction, since this was originally written as internet fan fiction based on the Twilight series. E.L. James wrote this as her fantasy, her outlet. She never imagined that it would be published. So the idea to think, I had them read a journal article about copyright issues and trademarking and what is illegal, what isn't illegal, what's fair use. So to have them thinking whatever field that they go in, what is proprietary work, what isn't, what might need to be protected. So thus far, and each week it's a new adventure.
Is it literature? Is 50 Shades of Grey literature? I thought it was horrible. I mean, just,
I did too, but I don't think that's what they're trying.
Ever, but that's not.
I would say no, but literature, art, erotica, all of that is so subjective. The first assignment is that they actually have to rewrite 7 to 10 pages in the opening section of the book before any sexual content
I would love to do
is
that.
introduced.
Yeah.
Because again, this was written for the internet. So
Right,
what
right.
we accept
True.
in terms of editing or lack thereof, we wouldn't accept in a hard copy.
That's a very good point. If I was reading this on my BlackBerry on the Metro, I'd be like, I'm passing time, whatever. But if you're in a hard-covered book, you're like, really? Trees died for this? But yeah, this is just my view.
And how many jobs have we been in where we were tasked with editing and rewriting and looking at the same pages over and over again? So these are skills that they can take with them in the job market. And at the end of the day, my time with them is very short. It's what matters after to me.
You were talking about skills in the job market, and then you're talking about the classes that you teach that are sexuality based. How does a discussion of sexuality translate into skills for the job market?
I would say being comfortable talking about health issues or controversial topics. I've done that on my website. I've done that in my speaking and now in my teaching. So we're not just looking at sex in the traditional sense. We're looking at the legal definition of pornography. We're looking at personality disorders. We're looking at domestic violence. We're looking at sex addiction, eating disorders. So they're taking these skills and this understanding of these health issues and using them to evaluate things both in their own lives and in the future. You know, I worked in a domestic violence legal arena. So to be able to look and say, wow, did the control issues in the beginning of the book, before they've introduced that non-disclosure agreement, does that merit an abusive relationship? Is that the start of psychological abuse? And I've noticed it in my clients, and I noticed it the moment I started reading and we got to those sections.
No, but you said the majority of your students thought that it was a violent relationship. There might have been some that thought that it was a perfectly acceptable relationship, and here we are in our Month of Love episodes talking about love and types of love. Is that a discussion as well that you all get into?
We do talk about how the author intended, what she saw in the fantasy, and what the mom demographic responded to. So the idea that in the Month of Love, there are many women who just hope their spouses would throw out the garbage regularly.
That's true. That is a huge turn on.
So the idea
I'm
that
write a book about
you
that.
could have this billionaire who can make all your dreams come true. Every touch makes you tremble. Everything is taken care of. You don't have to worry about the garbage or that dream job or anything else. So I think that fantasy, we're all encouraged to do that. And there has been a sexual resurgence based on research and based on spikes in pregnancies and babies and spikes in sales in the adult toy industry, and that's been directly attributed to the book.
Well, I guess if women are feeling more comfortable with themselves and their sexuality, that's never a bad thing. Just don't do the stuff in the book.
The other question I have before we wrap up, it's a college course and all the kids in there are adults, but did you get any pushback from folks when you first said, I'm going to teach?
Not when they saw the 11-page single-space syllabus. So if they're prepared to work and they're doing work that's appropriate for an upper-level class, but yes, if the articles just focus on we're talking about sex every day, and I've taught sexuality studies, and that is a legitimate course for people who are interested in women, gender, LGBTQ issues, or health issues to take. But that's only one portion of this much larger class, and we're looking at it all through the lens of the control piece and the marketing piece and the demographics. So once anyone sees the syllabus and actually sits in, their concerns would be assuaged immediately.
Well, it sounds fascinating. It's definitely something that from the minute that course and you hit the catalog is something everyone's been talking about. So we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us about it. And we'll have to follow it and see how this course progresses as the students, not kids, continue their studies one way or another. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure, pun intended.
Thank you so much for being with us as well. We've enjoyed chatting with Stef and all of our guests this month of love. And we hope that you will continue to follow us and tell us who you think we should be dishing with next time. See you next time on The District Dish.